The night everything fell apart started deceptively normal. I was reviewing quarterly projections for my software company at our dining room table when Vanessa stormed in, designer heels clicking aggressively against the marble floor. She dangled her car keys in front of my face, demanding my attention. "Nathan, we need to talk about my car situation, now." I looked up from my laptop, already feeling the familiar tension headache forming behind my eyes. Her sleek BMW 5 Series was barely 2 years old, but she'd been dropping increasingly unsubtle hints about the new Tesla Model Y for months, ever since her friend Jessica's husband bought her one. "What's wrong with your car?" I asked, trying to keep my tone level. We'd had this exact conversation 3 times this month alone. Vanessa rolled her eyes dramatically and dropped into the chair across from me. "The Harrison Winters are all driving electric now. Do you know how embarrassing it is being the only one pulling up to the country club brunch in a gas guzzler? Even Sarah Mitchell, who's just a junior associate at her firm, got a Tesla last week. People are starting to talk." I closed my laptop slowly, knowing this wasn't going to end well. "Vanessa, we just invested $500,000 in expanding the Austin office. The timing isn't great for another $60,000 purchase that we don't actually need." "Don't need?" Her voice rose an octave, that dangerous glint appearing in her eyes. "I use that car every single day. It's part of my professional image. How am I supposed to convince clients I'm on the cutting edge when I'm driving yesterday's technology? God, Nathan, do you ever think about how this affects me? Your BMW is a luxury vehicle that performs perfectly. We can revisit this in a few months when..." "A few months." She slammed her hand on the table, making my coffee mug rattle against the coaster. "I need this now. The Mitchell Foundation Gala is in 3 weeks, and Jessica already told everyone about my new Tesla. What am I supposed to do? Show up in that old thing and admit my fiancé is too cheap to keep me competitive?" I felt something deep inside me fracture. For 3 years, I'd been slowly bending myself into whatever shape would please Vanessa. I'd changed my wardrobe, my haircut, my social circle. I'd even moved us to this pretentious neighborhood that cost 3 times what my perfectly good downtown loft had, all to meet her ever-escalating standards. "Your car cost $80,000 20 months ago," I said quietly. "That's not old by any reasonable standard." "My father was right about you," she spat, her eyes narrowing. "Once a scholarship kid, always a scholarship kid. You still think like someone who grew up on the wrong side of town." I stayed silent, which only fueled her anger. We both knew her accusation was absurd. My company had cleared 8 figures last year, but Vanessa had a gift for finding the one insecurity that would cut deepest. "You think I don't have options?" she continued, her voice dropping to that dangerous, silky purr that always preceded her cruelest comments. "Do you know how many men would kill to be with someone like me?" She gestured to her perfect figure, highlighted by the Givenchy dress I'd bought her last month for her birthday. When I still didn't respond, something calculated shifted in her eyes. "I could replace you in 24 hours. One phone call, one social media post. 24 hours, Nathan. You're a temporary solution until something better comes along." The words hung in the air between us. In that moment, something crystallized with perfect clarity. I saw our entire future. Years of these arguments, her constant dissatisfaction, my growing resentment, each of us becoming increasingly twisted versions of ourselves. I stood up slowly. "Is that what you think of me? A temporary solution?" She seemed startled by my calm reaction. She'd expected me to plead, to try to appease her as I had so many times before. Well, if you're going to be so stubborn about things that matter to me, then yes." I nodded, taking a deep breath. "Then I should probably get out of your way so you can start looking." Vanessa's smug expression faltered. "What?" Without another word, I walked to our bedroom and pulled out my suitcase from the custom closet she'd insisted on remodeling last spring. I could hear her heels clicking rapidly behind me. "What do you think you're doing?" Her voice had lost its edge, replaced by genuine confusion. "Giving you the opportunity to find your replacement," I said, methodically placing clothes into the suitcase. 24 hours, right? You'll need the space to interview candidates." "You're overreacting," she scoffed, though I caught the nervous tremor in her voice. "This is ridiculous." Put those away. I continued packing, adding my toiletries and laptop charger. I took only what was truly mine. Clothes, personal items, tech. Nothing we'd purchased together. Nathan, stop it. I was making a point. So am I. I zipped the suitcase and turned to face her. I'm not going to be someone's temporary solution, Vanessa. Not anymore. Her face transformed from confusion to controlled rage. Are you seriously walking out because of one comment? God, you're so sensitive. This is exactly why my father said you weren't executive material. It wasn't one comment. It was the truth you've been hiding behind designer clothes and luxury car demands. I picked up my suitcase. You want better? Go find it, but don't expect me to wait around while you shop for my replacement. As I walked toward the door, she grabbed my arm with surprising strength, her manicured nails digging into my skin. You can't just leave. Where are you going to go? This is childish, Nathan. What about the Mitchell Foundation Gala? What about our engagement photos next week? I gently but firmly removed her hand. I'm sure one of those men who would kill to be with you will be happy to step in. Her expression changed again, this time to one I knew well, the calculated manipulation that had worked on me countless times before. If you walk out that door, don't think you can just come crawling back tomorrow when you realize what you've lost, she threatened, her voice breaking with precisely calibrated emotion. There won't be a place for you here. I placed my house keys on the marble entryway table. I won't be coming back, Vanessa. Make sure you found your upgrade within 24 hours, because after that, you'll need to figure out how to cover the mortgage on your own. My name might be on the deed, but you insisted on having your name alone on the loan documents to build your credit, remember? Her eyes widened in genuine shock. You wouldn't. Watch me. I opened the door and stepped out into the warm Texas night. Good luck with your search. I genuinely hope you find what you're looking for. The cool night air felt cleansing as I threw my suitcase into the back of my Jeep. The one purchase Vanessa had never been able to bully me out of, though not for lack of trying. My hands were steady, but my mind was racing. 3 years with Vanessa, gone in an instant. Or maybe they'd been gone for much longer, and I just hadn't wanted to see it. I drove aimlessly for nearly an hour before calling the one person I knew I could trust. Nathan, it's almost midnight, Megan's sleepy voice answered. Everything okay? Not really, I admitted, pulling over to focus on the call. I left Vanessa. It's over. A pause. For real this time. Her question stung, but it was fair. I'd threatened to leave twice before, only to be talked back into the relationship by Vanessa's tears and promises. For real, I confirmed. I don't suppose you know of any decent hotels near you that won't charge me the equivalent of a small car for a last-minute room. Don't be stupid, she said, suddenly sounding wide awake. You're coming here. I'll make up the guest room. Megan, I don't want to impose. Nathan Brooks, how many times did you let me crash on your couch during the great apartment flood of 2022? You're coming here. I'll text you the new gate code. 40 minutes later, I was sitting on Megan's couch, a cold beer in hand, pouring out the whole story. We'd been friends since college, long before I met Vanessa. Megan had always been the voice of reason in my life, the one who saw through people's facades, which was probably why Vanessa had done her best to drive a wedge between us over the years. She actually said that you're a temporary solution. Megan shook her head, her photographer's eyes taking in the details of my disheveled appearance. Her exact words. Wow. She took a sip of her own beer. And to think I kept my mouth shut at your engagement party. I raised an eyebrow. What's that supposed to mean? Megan hesitated, picking at the label on her bottle. Nathan, Vanessa has always treated you like an accessory, not a partner. Everyone sees it. We just didn't think it was our place to say anything. The truth of her words hit me hard. I leaned back against the couch, suddenly exhausted. I've been such an idiot, I muttered. No, Megan said firmly. You've been in love. There's a difference. Vanessa is exceptionally skilled at making people see what she wants them to see. What am I going to do now? I asked, more to myself than to her. Now, Megan said, taking the empty beer bottle from my hand, you're going to get some sleep. Tomorrow you're going to call your lawyer, and then you're going to remember who you were before Vanessa decided you needed a complete overhaul. I managed a small smile. When did you get so wise? Around the same time you got so blind, she teased, but her eyes were kind. It's going to be okay, Nathan. Not today, probably not tomorrow, but eventually. That night I slept better than I had in months. I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing incessantly. 17 missed calls from Vanessa, 38 text messages ranging from rage to tearful apologies, and one voicemail that alternated between sobbing and threats. I read through them all, feeling strangely detached. The last text caught my attention. I didn't mean it. Please come home so we can talk. I love you more than anything. I've already called the Tesla dealership to cancel. For a moment I felt the familiar pull, the urge to smooth things over, to maintain peace at any cost. It would be so easy to go back, to slip into the comfortable routine of our life together, to convince myself that this time would be different. Instead, I opened Instagram. With a simple post, a sunrise photo from Megan's balcony, with the caption, "New beginnings start with clear vision," I made it official. No dramatic announcement, no airing of dirty laundry, just a quiet declaration of change. Within minutes, my phone exploded again. Not just Vanessa this time, but mutual friends, her family members, even business connections asking what was happening. I silenced the notifications and went to find coffee. Megan was already in her kitchen, hair tied back, making breakfast. "I heard your phone having a meltdown," she said, sliding a mug toward me. "Social media aftermath." Something like that. I took a grateful sip. I've never actually broken up with someone before. Is it always this public? Only when you're engaged to a PR manager with a social media addiction and an image obsession. She placed a plate of eggs in front of me. "Eat, then we're going to make a plan." The plan turned out to be remarkably straightforward. Call my lawyer, change my passwords, redirect my mail, block access to my accounts and credit cards. Small, practical steps toward disentangling my life from Vanessa's. "You should check her Instagram," Megan suggested as we finished our coffee. "Know what you're dealing with." I hesitated, then pulled up Vanessa's profile. My stomach dropped. She'd already posted a series of stories, elegant cocktails with an unseen companion, cryptic captions about upgrading, a selfie in a dress I'd never seen with the text, "Watch how quickly I rise from the ashes." Each post carefully crafted to show how unbothered she was, how quickly she was moving on. "Well," Megan said, peering over my shoulder, "she's certainly committed to the narrative." 24-hour, I muttered. "She's really trying to prove she can replace me in 24 hours. Let her try." Megan took my phone and set it face down on the table. "Meanwhile, you're going to focus on yourself, starting with a trip to the gym to work off some of this stress." The next few days fell into a surprising rhythm. Mornings at the gym, days at my office focusing on the business I'd neglected during the chaos of my relationship, evenings with Megan planning my next steps. I rented a small apartment close to my company headquarters and furnished it minimally. For the first time in years, every decision was entirely my own. No compromising on paint colors or arguing over the necessity of a $900 coffee table. Vanessa's social media campaign continued unabated, each post more desperate than the last, though expertly disguised as someone living their best single life. Photos with random men at upscale bars, check-ins at exclusive restaurants, a steady stream of unbothered content that screamed its opposite to anyone paying attention. A week after our breakup, my lawyer called. "She's contesting the separation of assets," he informed me. "Claims she's entitled to a percentage of your business since," and I quote, "her connections and social guidance were instrumental in its success." I laughed, actually laughed. She's never set foot in my office. She doesn't even know what my company does beyond something with software. Nevertheless, she's hired Patricia Westfield. My laughter died. Westfield was notorious in Austin divorce circles, a barracuda who specialized in extracting maximum settlements. "Fine," I said after a moment. "Let's give them everything they're asking for." "Excuse me." My lawyer sounded genuinely alarmed. "All the financial records, text messages, emails, everything." I felt a strange calm descend over me, including the prenup she signed, where she specifically waived any claim to my business assets. There was a pause, then a low chuckle. "I see where you're going with this. Make them waste time and money building a case that'll collapse the moment we present the prenup." Exactly. Vanessa never thought I'd actually leave. She probably doesn't even remember what she signed. That evening, I recounted the conversation to Megan over takeout in my new apartment. That's brilliant, she said, twirling noodles around her fork, but also kind of scary. When did you get so strategic? I shrugged. Running a business teaches you to think several steps ahead. Besides, Vanessa isn't the only one who knows how to play the PR game. Megan studied me carefully. You've changed this past week. Had to happen eventually. I smiled, surprising myself with how genuine it felt. You know what the strangest part is? I don't even miss her. I miss the idea of what we could have been, but not who we actually were together. That's called clarity, Megan said softly. It looks good on you. Our eyes met across the table, and something shifted in the air between us. I'd always found Megan attractive. It was an objective fact, like acknowledging a sunset was beautiful, but I'd never allowed myself to think beyond that. She was my friend. I was with Vanessa. Neither of those barriers existed anymore. Megan broke the moment, clearing her throat and standing to gather the takeout containers. Anyway, you should focus on the legal stuff right now. Everything else can wait. She was right, of course. But for the first time since leaving Vanessa, I found myself thinking about possibilities rather than problems. The next morning brought an unexpected development. A mutual friend, Connor, called while I was on my way to the office. Dude, have you seen what Vanessa's been saying about you? He sounded genuinely concerned. I've been avoiding social media, I admitted. Why? What's she saying now? Man, it's bad. She's telling everyone you emotionally abused her, controlled her finances, isolated her from friends. She's got half of Austin thinking you're some kind of monster. I nearly missed a red light, braking hard at the last second. She's what? Check your email. I sent you screenshots. I pulled into a parking lot and opened Connor's email. There they were. Vanessa's tearful Instagram stories, carefully crafted posts painting herself as the victim of a calculating, controlling partner. She'd even created a highlight reel titled Healing, filled with vague references to finally being free and recognizing the signs of emotional manipulation. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. This wasn't just petty revenge. This was character assassination. In a town where business relationships and personal reputations were deeply intertwined, this could do real damage. Connor, you know none of this is true, right? I needed at least one person to believe me. Course I know, man. I've known you both for years. Vanessa's always been, he trailed off diplomatically. A manipulative narcissist, I suggested. He laughed nervously. Your words, not mine. But yeah, pretty much. Look, most people who actually know you guys aren't buying it, but she's got a big following, and people love drama. Thanks for the heads up. I ended the call and immediately dialed my lawyer. His advice was clear. Document everything, don't engage publicly, and accelerate our legal timeline. The more desperate she gets, the more mistakes she'll make, he assured me. I spent the rest of the drive to the office in a state of cold fury. Not because of the lies, I'd expected those, but because of how easily Vanessa had slipped into the victim role, how expertly she was manipulating public sympathy. When I arrived at work, my assistant Jennifer's face told me the news had spread. I'm guessing you've seen the posts, I said, stopping by her desk. Everyone has. She looked uncomfortable. HR's already fielded 3 calls from journalists asking for comment. Perfect. Just perfect. Tell HR to direct all inquiries to our legal team. I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache forming. And Jennifer. I'm sorry you got dragged into this mess. Don't worry about me, she said firmly. For what it's worth, no one here believes a word of it. We've all met Vanessa at company events. I nodded gratefully and headed into my office, closing the door behind me. I needed to think. Playing defense wasn't going to work. Vanessa was too good at spinning narratives, too connected in certain social circles. I needed to change the game entirely. An idea began to form, risky, potentially messy, but with a certain poetic justice to it. I picked up my phone and called the last person Vanessa would expect me to contact. Mrs. Reed, this is Nathan Brooks. I think we need to talk about your daughter. Eleanor Reed had never approved of me. As the wife of one of Austin's old money real estate developers, she'd had higher aspirations for her only daughter than a nouveau riche tech entrepreneur, as she once described me at a particularly uncomfortable Thanksgiving dinner. But if there was one thing Eleanor valued above social standing, it was the family reputation, which is why she agreed to meet me at a discreet coffee shop far from her usual haunts. "I'll give you 10 minutes, she said by way of greeting, her Chanel suit immaculate despite the Texas heat. "Though I can't imagine what you have to say that would interest me after the way you've treated Vanessa." "With all due respect, Mrs. Reed, you've only heard one version of events." I slid a folder across the table. "I thought you might be interested in the other." She eyed the folder suspiciously. "What is this?" "Financial records, text messages, security camera footage from our home." I kept my voice level. "Evidence of behavior I've been covering up for years out of respect for your family." Eleanor's perfectly manicured hand hovered over the folder. "What kind of behavior?" "The kind that would devastate Reed development if it became public, especially the incidents involving your husband's business associates." Her face paled slightly. "I don't believe you." Page 12, the Wellington fundraiser after party. She opened the folder, flipping rapidly to the page I'd indicated. I watched as her expression shifted from skepticism to shock to something approaching horror. This can't be." She looked up, her social mask slipping for perhaps the first time since I'd known her. "Vanessa would never." "She did, repeatedly, and there's more." I leaned forward. "I'm not here to threaten you, Mrs. Reed. I have no intention of making any of this public. I simply want Vanessa to retract her false statements and agree to a quiet, dignified divorce." Eleanor closed the folder with shaking hands. "Why are you showing me this instead of using it against her legally?" "Because despite everything, I don't want to destroy her or your family. I just want to move on with my life." She studied me for a long moment. "You know, I never understood what she saw in you. Your background, your unconventional business. But I think I'm beginning to. I'll take that as a compliment." "Don't." She stood clutching the folder. "I'll speak to Vanessa and my husband. This ends now." I watched her walk away, feeling no triumph, only a deep weariness. The evidence I'd shown her was real. Screenshots of Vanessa's inappropriate messages to married men, receipts for expenses she'd hidden, video clips of her explosive temper when she thought no one was watching. All things I'd ignored or excused in the name of love, or what I'd thought was love. My phone buzzed with a text from Megan. "How did it go?" I replied simply, "It's done." The effects of my meeting with Eleanor Reed were swift and decisive. Within hours, Vanessa's inflammatory social media posts disappeared. Her healing highlight reel vanished. In their place came a single, carefully worded statement. "After reflection, I want to clarify that my recent emotional posts were an inappropriate response to a private matter. Nathan Brooks has always conducted himself with integrity, and any suggestion otherwise was born from my own pain. I regret any confusion and ask for privacy as we work through our separation." When I showed the post to Megan that evening, she whistled low. "What exactly did you say to her mother?" "The truth." I set my phone down. "Sometimes that's more effective than any threat." "Well, whatever you did, it worked." Megan hesitated. "But you know this isn't over, right? Vanessa's just retreating to regroup." "Probably," I agreed, "but at least now she knows I'm not just going to roll over." The next day proved Megan right. While Vanessa maintained her public silence, her lawyer delivered a new set of demands, significantly more reasonable than before, but still seeking a substantial financial settlement. "She's testing your boundaries," my lawyer explained, "seeing how much she can get away with now that the public angle has failed." "Counter with the minimum required by the prenup," I instructed. "Not a penny more." 2 days of legal back and forth followed. I immersed myself in work, grateful for the distraction of complex problems I actually knew how to solve. In the evenings, Megan would come over with dinner, and we'd talk about everything except Vanessa. On Friday, my lawyer called with unexpected news. "She's withdrawing all claims beyond the prenup provisions," he reported, sounding pleasantly surprised. "Apparently, she's taken a job offer in Los Angeles and wants to expedite the divorce." "Los Angeles," I repeated, stunned. Vanessa had always insisted she would never leave Austin, where her family connections gave her social power. Some executive PR position at a streaming company. Her lawyer made it clear she's eager to make a fresh start away from painful memories. I could hear the skepticism in his voice. That's convenient. Very. But if it gets us a clean break, I'm not inclined to question it. After hanging up, I sat at my desk, turning this new development over in my mind. It felt too easy, too neat. Vanessa didn't surrender. It wasn't in her nature. I dialed Connor, who worked in the media industry and knew everyone. Hey, what do you know about PR openings at streaming companies in LA? Specific question, he noted. Any particular reason? Vanessa's supposedly taken a job there. Convenient timing. Huh? There was a pause, the sound of typing. Nothing major that I've heard about. Which company? Her lawyer didn't specify. Let me ask around. More typing. Oh, wait. Julia mentioned something about Michael Harrington leaving Netflix last week. Big scandal, very hush-hush. He and Vanessa were pretty tight at that charity gala last year. Tight how? I asked, though I already suspected the answer. The kind of tight that had people talking, if you know what I mean, especially since his wife was out of town. The pieces clicked into place. Thanks, Connor. That explains a lot. I hung up and immediately called Megan. Vanessa's running away with Michael Harrington, I announced when she answered. The Netflix guy. Isn't he married? Was married, apparently. Just put it together. She's not taking a job in LA. She's following him there. Megan was quiet for a moment. How do you feel about that? I considered the question carefully. Relieved, mostly. If she's focused on him, she's not focused on making my life difficult. True. Megan sounded hesitant. Does it bother you that she's moved on so quickly? Honestly, number. And it was true. Where I'd expected jealousy or hurt, there was only a hollow sort of amusement. She said she could replace me in 24 hours. Turns out she had the replacement lined up all along. Nathan. Megan's voice softened. I need to tell you something. Something I probably should have told you a long time ago. My stomach tightened. What is it? Not over the phone. Can you come over tonight? I'll be there in an hour. Megan's apartment was dimly lit when I arrived, candles flickering on her coffee table alongside an open bottle of wine. She looked nervous, pacing back and forth as she waited. This feels serious, I said, only half joking, as I accepted the glass she offered me. It is. She sat down, motioning for me to join her. I need to show you something. She handed me her phone, open to a conversation with someone saved simply as V. Sinari. The messages dated back nearly 2 years before Vanessa and I were engaged. I scrolled through, my blood running cold as I absorbed the content. Vanessa complaining about me, strategizing about how to upgrade my image, discussing other men she was seeing behind my back, mocking my business aspirations, my clothes, even the engagement ring I'd spent months saving for. How long have you had these? I asked quietly. Megan looked miserable. Since they started. She thought I was her friend too, or at least someone who'd take her side. She kept sending them even after I stopped responding. Why didn't you tell me? I tried in the beginning. Remember that dinner, right after you moved in together, when I suggested maybe you were rushing things? I did remember. I'd brushed off her concerns, convinced she was just being overprotective. You were so happy, Nathan. Or you seemed happy. I didn't want to be the one to ruin that without concrete proof. And by the time I had proof, she gestured helplessly. By then I wouldn't have believed you anyway, I finished for her. It was true. I'd been so completely under Vanessa's spell, so convinced of our perfect relationship, I'd have dismissed any evidence to the contrary. I'm sorry, Megan whispered. I should have tried harder. Should have found a way to make you see. I handed her phone back, my mind reeling with this new information. All those times Vanessa had been working late or having girls' nights out. The mysterious weekend conferences, the unexplained charges on our shared credit card. There's something else, Megan said, scrolling to a more recent message. This came yesterday, a single text from Vanessa. I hope you're happy now. You've wanted him for yourself since college. Congratulations on the long game. You finally won. I looked up sharply. What is she talking about? Megan's cheeks flushed. She set the phone down, unable to meet my eyes. She always thought I had feelings for you. It was part of why she tried to push me out of your life. And did you, I asked, my heart suddenly pounding, have feelings for me? The silence stretched between us, heavy with years of unspoken words. Yes, she finally admitted, but that's not why I'm showing you these messages. I need you to know who she really is, regardless of how you feel about me. I reached across the couch and took her hand. Megan, look at me. She raised her eyes, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen before. I've spent the past 3 years with someone who saw me as a project, a stepping stone, a temporary solution. I squeezed her hand. Do you know what I realized when I left? That the person I most wanted to call, the one I trusted to help me pick up the pieces, was you. It's always been you. Nathan, I'm not saying this because of the messages, or because I'm on the rebound, or because I'm angry at Vanessa. I'm saying it because it's true. She searched my face, looking for any sign of doubt. What happens when the divorce is final, and you've had time to process everything? What if you change your mind? Then we'll deal with it, together. I moved closer, still holding her hand. I'm not asking for promises, Megan. I'm just asking for a chance, for both of us. She smiled then, a real smile that reached her eyes. I think I can manage that. As we leaned toward each other, her phone buzzed with another message from Vanessa. Neither of us bothered to look at it. Some chapters were meant to close completely. Over the next few weeks, things moved quickly on multiple fronts. My divorce proceedings accelerated, with Vanessa signing everything without contest from her new life in Los Angeles. According to the gossip Connor relayed, she and Michael Harrington had already moved in together in a Malibu beach house, posting enviable sunset photos and vague captions about finding true love when you least expect it. Meanwhile, my relationship with Megan evolved naturally from friendship into something deeper. We took things slowly, both aware of the complicated emotions involved, but there was an ease between us that I'd never experienced with anyone else. No games, no hidden agendas, just two people who genuinely enjoyed each other's company. My business flourished with my renewed attention. We landed 2 major contracts that had been in negotiation for months, and I finally implemented the expansion plans I'd been discussing when Vanessa demanded her new car. Life was settling into a new, better normal, which is why I should have expected another disruption. It came on a Tuesday afternoon in the form of an urgent call from my lawyer. Vanessa's back in town, he said without preamble, and she's trying to reopen the settlement. I stepped away from my desk, lowering my voice. On what grounds? She already signed everything. She's claiming duress, says she only agreed to the terms because she was emotionally traumatized and felt threatened by you and her family. I pinched the bridge of my nose. That's ridiculous. She's the one who wanted to expedite everything so she could move to LA with her married boyfriend. Ex-married boyfriend, actually. Apparently, Mr. Harrington's divorce isn't proceeding as smoothly as he'd hoped. His wife's contesting the prenup, which means his assets are frozen, including that beach house. Understanding dawned. So Vanessa's cash flow suddenly dried up. Precisely, and now she's back, looking for alternate funding. What does her lawyer think her chances are? Honestly, slim to none. But that may not be the point. I think she's hoping you'll pay her off just to avoid the hassle of fighting it. Not happening, I said firmly. Fight it with everything we've got. After ending the call, I immediately texted Megan. Vanessa's back. Legal trouble. Her response was instantaneous. Coming to your office now. Don't do anything until I get there. By the time Megan arrived, I'd already received 3 calls from unknown numbers and a series of increasingly desperate emails from Vanessa herself, ranging from tearful pleas to thinly veiled threats. She's spinning out, Megan observed, reading over the emails on my computer. Look at the timestamps. These are getting closer together. She's panicking. My lawyer thinks she's broke. Harrington's wife froze his assets during their divorce. Megan nodded thoughtfully. That tracks. Vanessa's never had her own money. She went from her parents' credit cards to yours to his. And now she wants back on mine. I closed the email window in disgust. Not happening. She'll escalate, Megan warned. You know how she operates. When manipulation fails, she'll try destruction. As if on cue, my phone rang again. Jennifer from the front desk. Mr. Brooks, Vanessa Reed is here demanding to see you. Security is asking what you want them to do. I exchanged a look with Megan. Tell them to escort her out. peacefully but firmly. I'm not available to see her. Yes, sir. I could hear the commotion even through my closed office door. Vanessa's voice rising in pitch and volume as security explained she needed to leave. This is ridiculous. I'm his fiancé. Nathan. Nathan, I know you can hear me. Megan winced. Fiancé? Is she delusional? Apparently. I rubbed my temples, feeling the beginnings of a stress headache. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. She reached across the desk and took my hand. We'll handle it. Together. The shouting eventually faded as Vanessa was escorted from the building. In its wake came a flurry of texts. You're making a huge mistake. I know about you and that photographer slut. You think you've won, but you have no idea what I'm capable of. I showed the messages to Megan, who read them with a grim expression. We need to document everything, she said, and maybe get a restraining order. Already on it. I forwarded the messages to my lawyer. Let's get out of here. I need some air. We took the back exit, avoiding the lobby where Vanessa might still be lurking. As we walked to the parking garage, Megan suddenly stopped, grabbing my arm. Your car, she said quietly, pointing ahead. The sight made my stomach drop. My Jeep's tires were slashed. The word liar scratched deep into the paint across the driver's door. Security cameras, I muttered, pulling out my phone. This garage has cameras everywhere. And within hours we had the footage. Vanessa, in dark sunglasses and a baseball cap, methodically destroying my vehicle before walking away with a satisfied smirk. The restraining order was granted the next morning. The police, reviewing the same footage, issued a citation for vandalism, but Vanessa was just getting started. The next phase of her campaign targeted Megan. It began with a series of one-star reviews on her photography website, clearly fake accounts created for the purpose. Then came the canceled bookings, longtime clients suddenly backing out with vague excuses. She's telling them I'm unstable, Megan reported after one particularly awkward phone call, that I stole her fiancé and am now under investigation for harassment. I was furious. That's defamation. We can sue her for this. With what proof? It's all whisper campaigns and innuendo. Megan ran a hand through her hair, stress evident in every line of her body. Besides, a lawsuit would just drag this out longer. She was right, but that didn't make it any easier to watch someone I cared about suffer because of my past choices. What if we turned the tables? I suggested, an idea forming, used her own tactics against her. Megan looked doubtful. Meaning what? Spread rumors about her. That's not really our style, Nathan. Not rumors, truth. I pulled out my laptop. Every industry has forums where people share information about problematic clients, dangerous situations, scammers. What if we created a resource for people to share their experiences with Vanessa? No embellishment, just documented facts. A warning system, Megan mused, warming to the idea. It could help protect others from getting caught in her web. We spent the evening building a simple, professional-looking website titled The Vanessa Reed File. It contained nothing but verified incidents. The vandalism with police report numbers, screenshots of her threatening messages, the documented history of her false claims. At the bottom, we added a secure contact form. If you have had similar experiences with Vanessa Reed that you wish to document, please reach out. Within 48 hours, the inbox was overflowing. Former friends with stories of betrayal, business contacts who'd been manipulated, even an ex-boyfriend from before me who shared a frighteningly similar account of emotional abuse and financial exploitation. We vetted everything carefully, requiring documentation where possible, confirming identities. Only the most clearly substantiated accounts were added to the site. The impact was immediate. Vanessa's social media accounts went dark. Her attempts to reopen the divorce settlement were suddenly withdrawn. According to Connor, who remained our primary source of industry gossip, she'd become radioactive in Austin PR circles. People are sharing that site everywhere, he reported. I heard the Reed Development holiday party got canceled because no one would RSVP. I felt no joy in this, only a weary relief. We never wanted to destroy her. We just needed her to stop. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense, Megan pointed out. You gave her every opportunity to walk away cleanly. She was right. We'd taken no action until Vanessa had made it clear she wouldn't stop until she'd ruined both our lives. Still, as my divorce was finally, irrevocably finalized, I couldn't help feeling a complex mix of emotions. Not regret exactly, but a sort of mourning for the relationship I'd thought I had, for the future I'd once imagined. It's okay to feel conflicted, Megan assured me as we shared a quiet dinner celebrating the end of the legal proceedings. You love the person you thought she was. And now I love the person I know you are, I replied, reaching for her hand. No illusions, no projections. Just us, exactly as we are. Her smile was worth every moment of the ordeal we'd been through. 6 months later, life had found a new, better rhythm. Megan and I moved in together, combining our styles into a home that felt more authentic than the showcase apartment I'd shared with Vanessa. My business continued to thrive, and Megan's photography had pivoted successfully toward commercial work after the damage to her reputation in certain social circles. We heard about Vanessa occasionally through the Austin grapevine. After Michael Harrington was forced to return to his wife by court order, apparently their prenup held up after all, Vanessa had tried to reestablish herself in Los Angeles, but found the doors suddenly closed. She'd moved back to her parents' guest house, a humiliating retreat for someone who'd built her identity on social climbing. According to rumor, she was dating a series of increasingly unsuitable men, each relationship shorter than the last, each ending in more dramatic fashion. Her professional reputation, once her most valuable asset, was in tatters. The Vanessa Reed file had spread far beyond Austin, becoming a cautionary tale in PR circles nationwide. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd stayed? Megan asked one evening as we sat on our balcony, watching the sunset over the Austin skyline. Sometimes, I admitted, but then I remember how much energy it took just to maintain the illusion of that relationship, how exhausting it was to constantly manage her expectations, her moods, her demands. And now, I pulled her closer. Now I have enough energy to actually live my life, to build something real with someone who wants me, not some idealized version of me that doesn't exist. She rested her head on my shoulder. For what it's worth, I like the real you best. Even the part that leaves coffee cups everywhere and can't remember to water plants. Especially that part, she laughed. It makes you human. My phone buzzed with a news alert, something I'd set up months ago when we first created the website. I read it, then showed it to Megan without comment. Local socialite critically injured in high-speed crash. The brief article described how Vanessa had been driving recklessly after leaving a club, lost control of her car, and crashed into a concrete barrier. She'd survived but sustained severe injuries, including facial trauma, that would require multiple reconstructive surgeries. That could have been your life, Megan said quietly. No, I corrected her. That would have been my responsibility, but never my life. She makes her own choices. 2 days later, we received an unexpected visitor, Eleanor Reed, looking decades older than when I'd last seen her. I won't stay long, she said, standing stiffly in our living room. I just thought you should know. The doctors say Vanessa's injuries are permanent. Her face, her modeling contracts have all been canceled. I nodded, unsure what response she was seeking. She keeps asking for you, Eleanor continued, her voice brittle. In her more lucid moments. She seems to think you'll come back now that she needs someone. I'm sorry for your family's pain, I said carefully, but that chapter of my life is closed. Eleanor nodded, her eyes moving to Megan, who stood supportively at my side. I understand. She turned to leave, then paused. You know, I always told Vanessa that her looks wouldn't last forever, that she needed to develop character, substance. She never listened. After she left, Megan and I sat in silence, processing the news. Are you okay? Megan finally asked. I think so. I took her hand. It's tragic what happened to Vanessa, but it doesn't change anything for us. Sometimes the universe delivers consequences we couldn't have imagined. She nodded. It's strange how things work out. If she hadn't said those words to you that night. I can replace you in 24 hours, I quoted. We might not be sitting here now. Then I guess I owe her that much, I said, pulling Megan closer. One honest moment that changed everything. 24 hours to find a replacement. Vanessa had unknowingly given me the greatest gift, the courage to walk away and discover what had been waiting for me all along.